Hey, my name is Ethan. I'm 31. Until 4 months ago, I was just a tutor, the guy who showed up twice a week to help a rich kid get into college. Then one morning his mother cornered me in her kitchen and asked, "Can you pretend to be my boyfriend today?" I said, "Only if I kiss you." She was 46, married. And I kissed her in the car before we walked into her husband's country club like we belonged together. Later that night, standing under a porch light at 2 a.m., she whispered, "I can't remember the last time someone touched me gently without wanting something." If you're watching this right now, tell me where you're from in the comments, because I still don't know if what we did was wrong. I pulled into the Whitmore driveway just past 7 on a Tuesday morning, watching rain tap the windshield in that slow, patient way that makes you think too much. The porch light was still on. Someone forgot to turn it off the night before, or maybe they left it on for a reason. I didn't know yet. That came later. The house looked like a museum. White columns, perfect hedges. The kind of place where even the mailbox costs more than my car. I sat there a minute longer than necessary, rehearsing my opening line. "Good morning, Noah. Ready to work on those essays?" Professional, calm, no mistakes. I needed this job. The Whitmores paid well, and in a town like this, old money, tight circles, everyone watching everyone, an outsider like me didn't get second chances. I was the tutor, not the friend, not the story, just the guy who showed up twice a week to help their son get into a good college. I grabbed my bag and stepped out into the drizzle. The air smelled like salt and wet pavement. The front door opened before I knocked. Claire Whitmore stood there in a cream sweater and dark jeans, looking composed in that way wealthy people do, like nothing ever catches them off guard. But her eyes had this tiredness, not sleepless, more like she'd been awake for years. "Good morning, Ethan." Her voice was soft, polite. She stepped aside to let me in. "Morning, Mrs. Whitmore." "Claire," she corrected, like she always did. "Coffee?" "I'm good, thank you." The inside of the house was pristine. Hardwood floors that didn't creak. White walls with expensive art I didn't understand. Everything smelled faintly of citrus. Her perfume, I'd learn, mixed with that sterile, clean smell rich houses have. Like no one actually lived there. I followed her down the hallway toward the study. The refrigerator hummed in the kitchen as we passed. It was the only sound that felt real. Noah was already waiting, sitting at the massive oak desk with his laptop open and a stack of college brochures next to him. He looked up and grinned. "Ethan, man, thank God. I've been staring at this Princeton essay for an hour." "Let's see it." Noah was 18, genuinely kind, and stressed in the way kids with too much pressure are. He wanted to make his parents proud. He didn't want to waste opportunities. He joked about it, but I could see the weight. Claire set a mug of coffee on the desk anyway, for Noah, and her bracelet clicked against the ceramic. A thin gold chain. Delicate. It made that sound a lot. "I'll leave you two alone," she said. But she didn't leave right away. She stood in the doorway for a second, watching us like she was trying to remember what it felt like to just be curious. Then she turned and disappeared down the hall. Noah and I worked through his essay. He was smart, thoughtful. We talked about structure, about showing vulnerability without sounding desperate. An hour passed quickly. When the session ended, Claire reappeared. This time her smile was tighter. "Ethan, could I ask a favor?" "Of course. Would it be possible to adjust your schedule this weekend? We have a family event at the club, and Noah might need some last-minute help beforehand." "Sure, just let me know when." She nodded. Her fingers twisted the bracelet. Click, click. "Thank you." I left through the front door and sat in my car a moment too long, staring at the house in my rearview mirror. The porch light was off now, but Claire stood at the window, watching me drive away. I told myself it didn't mean anything. That afternoon I came back for the second session. Same day, different air. The driveway was busy when I pulled in. Unmarked vans, people unloading chairs and linens, club staff, I guessed, preparing for something. I found Noah in the study again, but he was distracted. His phone kept buzzing. He kept glancing toward the hallway. "Sorry," he said. "My dad's friends are coming over this weekend. Big brunch thing. It's always a lot." "Yeah? Yeah. They're nice, but they talk about you like you're not there, you know?" I did know. Different version, same feeling. We were halfway through a practice SAT section when I heard voices. Claire's voice, calm, controlled, and another woman's, sharper, brighter in that performative way, orchestrated narrative foundation and tension escalation toward pivotal brunch scene. Good start. I'm establishing the atmosphere, Ethan's voice, the class dynamics, and Claire's loneliness. Need to continue building toward the brunch setup and the title line moment. Let me continue with the introduction of Mara and the building tension. The other woman appeared in the doorway. Mid-40s, perfectly styled blonde hair, designer dress that looked effortless, but wasn't. "Oh, is this the tutor?" She smiled at me like I was a lamp. "Mara Sinclair. I'm a friend of Claire's." "Ethan Cole." "Ethan." She said my name slowly, like she was filing it away. How wonderful that Claire found someone to help Noah. She's always so thoughtful. There was something underneath the compliment, something that made Claire's jaw tighten just slightly. Noah mumbled something polite and kept his eyes on his worksheet. Mara leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, still smiling. "You've been alone at so many events lately, Claire. I'm glad you're finally bringing someone this weekend." Claire's fingers found her glass of water. The bracelet clicked once, twice. "It's just a brunch, Mara." "Of course." Mara's smile didn't move. "Well, I should let you work. See you Saturday." She left with a little wave. The air felt lighter immediately. Claire exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for years. "I hate weekends," she said quietly. Then she looked at me. Really looked at me, and I felt something shift, not romantic, not yet, just seen. That evening, I couldn't stop replaying her tone. So the next morning I watched myself more carefully. I stood in my small apartment, ironing my one decent shirt. The collar scratched. The detergent smelled cheap. Everything in my life felt temporary compared to the Whitmore estate. But I needed the money. I needed the routine. I needed to not be the story people told at dinner parties. My phone buzzed. A text from the Whitmore household number. "Schedule change. Extra session today. Noah has the club event this weekend and wants to prep." I texted back. On my way. When I arrived, Noah looked stressed. His hands kept running through his hair. "These people at the club, they ask about grades, about where you're applying, and they judge you for everything. It's exhausting." "You don't have to perform for them." "I know, but it's easier if I do." Claire appeared in the doorway. "Ethan, I need to pick up some materials for Noah's applications. Would you mind riding along? We can discuss his progress." It wasn't a strange request, but something in her voice made it feel like more. "Sure." We walked to her car, a sleek black sedan that smelled like leather and citrus. The rain had started again. Soft, steady. Claire drove carefully. Her hands on the wheel were steady, but I noticed the tension in her shoulders. "Where are you from?" she asked. "Couple towns over. Moved here 2 years ago." "Do you like it?" It's quiet. She almost smiled. That's a polite way of saying you don't. I didn't answer. The rain picked up. The sound against the windshield filled the silence. Her perfume was stronger in the enclosed space, citrus and something warmer. It made the air feel heavy. She asked careful questions. What I studied. Why I became a tutor. Nothing too personal, but not quite professional either. Like she was trying to remember what being curious felt like. At a stoplight, she gestured toward something on my side of the car, a cafe she liked, and her hand brushed my forearm. We both froze. She pulled back immediately, pretended it didn't happen. But I felt it anyway. By late afternoon, Noah was finished with his session. Claire asked me to stay. We stood in the kitchen. The refrigerator hummed. The house was too quiet. She held a glass of water, and her bracelet clicked too loud against it. Ethan. She paused. Set the glass down. I need to ask you something, and I don't want you to feel pressured. Okay. This weekend, the brunch at the club. She looked at her hands. I've been going to these events alone for a while now. Graham, my husband, he's always busy, and people have started noticing. Mara and the others, they've made it a sport. Little comments, questions, jokes that aren't really jokes. I stayed quiet. I know this is inappropriate. I know it crosses lines. But I need someone there. Not as staff, just as presence. Someone who makes it look like I'm not. She stopped. Like I'm not whatever they've decided I am. Mrs. Whitmore. Claire. Claire. I took a breath. I'm Noah's tutor. People know me. If I show up with you at a social event, they'll talk. I know. And if they talk, it puts Noah in a bad position. It puts me in a bad position. I know. Her voice cracked just slightly. I wouldn't ask if I had another option. I wanted to say no. I should have said no. But the way she looked at me, not desperate, just lonely, made it impossible. I need to think about it. She nodded, her face already bracing for rejection. That night, I slept badly. The next morning, I sat in a diner with coffee too bitter to finish, watching the town move like a closed system. Everyone knew everyone. Outsiders stayed outsiders. A neighbor from my building walked past the window. She waved. I waved back. She knew I worked for the Whitmores. She'd probably already told 3 people. My phone buzzed. You don't have to. Claire Short, neutral, trying not to pressure me. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I drove to the Whitmore house and asked to speak privately. We stood in the same kitchen, same refrigerator hum, same citrus scent. Claire looked at me with careful hope. Can you pretend to be my boyfriend today? She asked. Her voice was almost mechanical, like she'd rehearsed it so many times it stopped sounding real. I set my bag down. Only if I kiss you. Her eyes went wide, not offended, shocked. I'm not asking for anything more, I said quickly. But if we're doing this, it has to look real. 1 kiss, controlled, before we go in, so it doesn't slide into something worse. She stared at me. Her hand found the counter for balance. Why? Because boundaries protect both of us. She looked toward the doorway like she was afraid of being seen. Then she nodded once. Okay. 2 days later, Saturday arrived. The house woke up like it was preparing for a trial. I showed up early, wearing my cheap suit. The collar scratched my neck. I felt like an imposter. Claire was in the living room, surrounded by unnamed assistants adjusting her outfit, checking details. She looked calm. Perfect. But her hands trembled when no one was looking. We established the script in a quiet hallway. Minimal touching, she said. Calm language. We leave separately if it gets uncomfortable. Agreed. Then she showed me a photo on her phone. The club, the venue. It's not casual, she admitted. It's hosted by Graham's inner circle. My stomach dropped. Your husband will be there? I thought he wouldn't, but he just confirmed. Jonah too, his closest friend. Claire, I know. She looked at me with something close to panic. I told people I wasn't coming alone. If I show up without you now, they'll humiliate me. Noah appeared briefly, thanking me for helping with family stuff. He had no idea what was really happening. The guilt was immediate. I was a trusted adult in his life. This felt like betrayal, even though nothing had happened. Claire and I walked to the car together. Her hands trembled on the wheel. The drive to the club was only 15 minutes, but it felt like its own chapter. Rain tapped the windshield. Citrus perfume. Silence that stretched until it hurt. Claire rehearsed what to say under her breath. I kept my eyes forward, trying to breathe through my guilt. I'm not afraid of being caught cheating, she said quietly. I'm afraid of being exposed as unloved. I didn't know what to say to that. She had a silk scarf in her lap, green and gold. Her fingers kept smoothing it. One kiss, I repeated. Before we go in, then nothing. Okay? At a red light, our elbows brushed. She pulled back. I felt it anyway. We pulled into the club parking lot and sat there with the engine ticking down, listening to our own breathing. Once we step out, she whispered, people will decide what we are. I know. Are you ready? No. Yes. We stayed in the car one more minute. Claire adjusted my collar. Her fingers lingered. The sound of laughter and silverware was faintly audible through the club doors. Now? She asked. I nodded. She leaned in slowly. I met her halfway. The kiss was soft, brief, controlled, more like a vow of silence than passion. But it carried weight, regret, tenderness. When she pulled back, her eyes stayed closed for a second, like relief. We stepped out of the car. I placed my hand at the small of her back, not possessive, just guiding. Her posture shifted. Performance mode. The club smelled like polished wood and old money, and then I saw it. Graham's car, already parked. Claire's face went still. We walked inside anyway. No time to regroup. No time to undo anything. A staff member greeted Claire too brightly. Mara was waiting near the entrance like she'd planned it. Claire! Mara's smile was sharp. And this must be your guest. Ethan, Claire said smoothly. Ethan, this is Mara. Mara's eyes scanned me. My suit, my shoes, my lack of cufflinks. What do you do, Ethan? I work in education. It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't specific either. Claire touched my arm lightly, brief, strategic, and guided me toward the seating area. The room was full of people who looked like they'd been born in country clubs. Stiff linen napkins, crystal, glasses, forced laughter. Across the room, I saw a man scanning faces. Tall, confident, loud. Jonah Pierce. He hadn't seen me yet, but I could feel the danger coming. We sat at a table near the window. Claire relaxed slightly, just a fraction. For a moment it was working. I poured her water. Our fingers almost touched. She didn't pull away. Mara stopped by with another smile. Graham's so busy lately. You're brave for showing up, Claire. It was a joke, but it wasn't. I responded calmly. She shouldn't have to be brave for brunch. Mara's smile flickered. Then she moved on. Claire exhaled. And that's when I saw him. Graham Whitmore entered the room, smiling, composed. He made eye contact with Claire, then shifted to me. His expression didn't change, but I felt the temperature drop. A few minutes later, he crossed the room. Jonah followed like an echo. Graham was exactly what I expected. Polished, controlled, the kind of man who never raised his voice because he never had to. He greeted Claire with a light kiss on the cheek. Social. Performative. Then he extended a hand to me. "Graham Whitmore." I shook it. His grip was firm, just slightly too firm. "Ethan Cole." "How do you know my wife, Ethan?" The question sounded casual. It wasn't. Claire answered smoothly. "Ethan's been helping with some family logistics." Graham nodded. His eyes stayed on me a second too long. Jonah watched from the side, trying to place my face. In the distance, I saw Noah passing through with other young people from the club. I prayed he didn't come over. Graham smiled. "We'll talk later, Claire." Then he walked away. But I knew. We were being watched now. The brunch moved on. My nervous system didn't. I could feel Graham's presence even when he wasn't looking directly at us. He circulated through the room like he owned it, because in a way, he did. These were his people, his circle. Claire and I stayed seated. We made small talk with people who stopped by. I answered questions carefully. Where I was from. What I did. I kept it vague without sounding evasive. But the whole time, I was thinking about Noah, about how this would look if anyone connected the dots. Mid-brunch, Claire leaned in slightly. "I need air. Walk with me?" It was phrased like a request, but I could hear the desperation underneath. "Sure." We stood and moved toward a quieter hallway that led to a terrace overlook. The noise from the brunch dulled. I could only hear my breathing and the faint buzz of a light fixture overhead. Claire stopped near a window. Her shoulders dropped like she'd been holding them up for hours. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't know Graham would be here. I thought I had more time." "It's okay." "It's not." She turned to face me. Her eyes were glassy, but she wasn't crying. "I can't remember the last time someone touched me gently, without wanting something, without it being transactional." I didn't know what to say. She stepped closer. Not romantic, just tired. And then she rested her forehead against my shoulder, just for a slow count to 10. I didn't kiss her. I didn't pull her closer. I just stood there with one hand hovering near her elbow, then lightly steadying her. It was the most intimate thing I'd ever felt. "You don't have to do this," I said quietly. "I know." Her scarf brushed my wrist. Silk, soft. I felt it like electricity. Then footsteps echoed down the hallway. Claire pulled away instantly. Mask back on. Composed. We stepped back into the crowd as if nothing had happened. When we returned to the table, the atmosphere felt lighter for everyone else. Heavier for us. Someone made a joke. I can't even remember what it was. But Claire laughed, a real laugh, small and surprised, and I saw Mara's eyes sharpen across the room. Jonah circulated closer, listening. Graham reappeared intermittently, always within sight, never hovering. Control through presence. A woman from the club's charity committee stopped by to ask Claire about hosting an upcoming meeting. Claire looked exhausted just hearing the request. I realized her entire life was obligations disguised as privilege. I glanced at the window. Rain streaked the glass. Time was passing. Eventually, I'd have to tutor Noah again and act like none of this happened. That's when Jonah leaned in with a grin. "I know you from somewhere." It happened fast, like the room finally decided to bite. Jonah stood too close, performing friendliness. Graham was near enough to overhear, far enough to pretend he wasn't listening. "Aren't you Noah's tutor?" Jonah said it loud enough for Mara to hear. The floor dropped. Claire's fingers tightened on her napkin. Her bracelet clicked hard against the table. I tried to keep my voice steady. I help Noah with school, yes. But the damage was done. Social damage, the kind that spreads in whispers. Mara's face lit up with delighted shock masked as concern. Oh my, Claire, you brought Noah's tutor? Graham's hand settled on the back of Claire's chair. Ownership without a scene. His smile was calm, almost amused, which was worse than anger. Claire made a decision in her eyes. I saw it happen. Survival over softness. Seconds later, she did it. Her voice was steady, too steady. Ethan's been helping around the house, she said smoothly. Driving, errands. He's very reliable. Driver. She called me a driver. The word landed like a slap I had to absorb in silence. Mara relaxed. The story shifted. Claire didn't choose me. She just brought staff. Still scandalous in a small way, but different. Manageable. Jonah laughed, satisfied. Well, good help is hard to find. Graham smiled politely, but his eyes stayed on me. Now he knew I had access to his home. I found a way to excuse myself. Something about needing to check on something. Polite. Calm. Claire didn't look at me as I left, because if she did, she might break. I stepped outside into the misty air, heard laughter behind me. The kiss in the car was now a secret that belonged to nobody but my body. That night came quickly. The silence between us grew teeth. I sat in my apartment with my suit tossed over a chair. The collar had left a mark on my neck. My phone was in my hand. I typed a message. Deleted it. Typed again. Then her text came first. Do not come back. Short. Terrified, not cruel. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed, I understand. I didn't beg. I didn't argue. A few minutes later, another text arrived, from the household scheduler, about Monday's tutoring session. As if nothing had happened. That's how wealthy households work. They compartmentalize humans. I lay awake that night with sensory loops playing in my head. Bracelet click, citrus perfume, porch light buzz. I decided, show up Monday, be professional, protect Noah. Pretend nothing happened, even if it broke me. Sunday passed in a blur of restraint. Monday arrived like a sentence. I parked outside the estate again. The porch light was off now, like a decision had been made. The house felt colder when I entered. Noah greeted me normally. He had no idea. That relief hurt more than anything. Claire didn't appear. A staff member I didn't know brought water instead. I taught Noah. My mind drifted to the hallway moment. Every time Noah smiled, guilt spiked in my chest. My dad's been around more, Noah mentioned casually. He sat in on a conference call in the study yesterday. Kinda weird. Graham's presence was increasing. As I packed up my materials, Graham appeared in the doorway. Casual, phone in hand. Mind if I sit in today, Ethan? It wasn't a request. Graham sat in the study, pretending to read emails. He asked Noah about college, performed supportive fatherhood perfectly. I continued tutoring under surveillance, every word carefully chosen. Then Graham's attention shifted to me. Where did you meet Claire, Ethan? Through the tutoring agency. How long have you been coming here? Few months. And you enjoy working with Noah? Very much. The question sounded harmless, but I knew what he was doing. Noah sensed the tension. He tried to lighten the mood with a joke. It fell flat. In the adjacent room, the refrigerator hummed. I heard it like a metronome of fear. When the session ended, Graham walked me to the door. He smiled. Then said quietly, "This town is small. People talk." That afternoon, I didn't go home. I drove the long way along the coast road just to feel like the town wasn't closing in. Rain began again. windshield tapping like anxious fingers. I processed the class shame. Being called driver didn't just protect Claire. It erased me. I thought about quitting, but quitting would hurt Noah, and it would look suspicious. I stopped at a small grocery store. An older neighbor recognized me. Still working for the Whitmores? The question was innocent. But it proved gossip had started. Yeah, still there. I kept my face calm. Inside, I was panicking. In my car, I drafted a message to Claire. I won't cause problems. Noah comes first. I didn't mention love. Didn't ask her to leave. I didn't send it. When I got home, I found a faint scent of citrus trapped in my suit jacket. I'd brought her into my life without permission. The next day, Tuesday, the house felt staged, like everyone had rehearsed how to ignore me. Noah was stressed about college applications. I focused on grounding him, showing him he mattered. Claire passed the study doorway without entering. She didn't meet my eyes, but I caught a glimpse of her scarf on a hallway hook. The same green and gold silk from Saturday. Like a ghost. Graham was home again. I heard his footsteps. He didn't sit in this time, but his presence was felt. Mara called Claire on speaker for a second, inviting her to another event. Claire's voice was brittle when she answered. She was being squeezed socially. Show up, smile, prove nothing happened. As I left, Claire's voice stopped me from behind, barely audible. Please, don't make this harder. That night, I kept my hands off my phone until it felt like punishment. I received no text. I didn't chase. I tried to sleep. Couldn't. I replayed the hallway moment where her forehead rested against my shoulder. Wondered if it was real or just desperation. Noah emailed me a draft essay about trust and role models. The irony twisted my gut. I responded with helpful feedback anyway, because I still chose responsibility. I decided, after Thursday's session, I'd request a schedule change. Quiet self-protection. The next morning, Wednesday, I was gathering materials from my car when I found something behind the seat. Claire's silk scarf. It shouldn't have been there. I held it, feeling the fabric slide through my fingers. Forgotten? Or planted as a test by Graham? Wednesday afternoon, I brought it back. The scarf was folded in a plain bag. My heart thudded in my chest. I planned to return it discreetly. No private meeting with Claire. Graham intercepted me in the hall. Looking for something, Ethan? His tone was polite. His eyes weren't. I found an item left in my car from the weekend. Just returning it. I kept my voice calm. No defensiveness. Graham's expression was unreadable. He stepped aside. I placed the scarf on the hallway hook. The least intimate option. During tutoring, Noah mentioned his mother had been up late lately. The porch light's been on at weird hours, he said, like 2, 3 in the morning. I didn't respond. After I left, I drove home and tried to sleep. At 2:04 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Porch lights on. I sat upright in bed, staring at the message like it was dangerous evidence. I didn't move for a full minute. Then I got dressed. Because some signals feel like emergencies. I drove through empty streets, rain mist, windshield tapping. The town asleep but still watching. I parked down the street. Not in the driveway. The porch light was on. Its faint buzz was audible when I stepped onto the walkway. Claire was waiting at the back porch. Not dressed for seduction. Just someone who couldn't sleep. Jeans, a sweater, hair down. I'm sorry, she said immediately. For what? For calling you that. For cutting you down. Her voice cracked. I had to stop the story from reaching Noah. I had to keep Graham from tightening control, but it was cruel. I know why you did it. That doesn't make it okay. I stepped closer, not too close. Being called driver hurt, I admitted. But I understand. She exhaled. Graham's been watching everything since Saturday, sitting in on calls, checking schedules. I feel like I'm being audited. What do you want from me, Claire? The question hung there. She didn't answer right away. I don't know, she whispered. I just needed you to know I didn't mean it. We stood there in the buzzing light, rain misting around us. No kissing, no I love you, no asking her to leave. The intimacy was in what we didn't do. I'll keep tutoring Noah, I said quietly. Professionally, like nothing happened. But this, I gestured between us. It has to stay rare, careful, unclaimed. She nodded. Then she reached out and touched my forehead briefly. One gentle, almost parental gesture. She withdrew immediately. Go before the light makes us a story. Dawn was only an hour away. I left before the sky could testify. I drove home as the porch light clicked off behind me. The road was empty, my chest crowded. I showered, made coffee, prepared for tutoring like it was any other day. Later that morning, I arrived at the Whitmore house and taught Noah as scheduled. Claire stayed distant but calmer, like someone who'd unclenched one knot. Graham appeared briefly, neutral, watching. But he said nothing. The tension remained, unresolved. Over the following days, I noticed small signals. Day 1, after the porch. Light off at night. Day 2, light on for 5 minutes, then off. Day 3, a neutral text from the household number about scheduling. Life continuing. Weeks passed. Not because the story ended, because this is what we became. I still tutored Noah. I showed up on time. I did my job well. Claire and I rarely spoke privately. When we did, it was brief. Professional. But some nights, when I drove past the estate on my way home from other work, I'd see the porch light on. Not always. Sometimes. I didn't approach every time. I respected the boundary. Some nights I just parked down the street and sat there for a few minutes, then left again. It wasn't romance. It wasn't an affair. It was just a door left cracked. A signal that said, I'm still here. You're still seen. And maybe that was enough. One night, months later, I was sitting in my car down the street. The porch. Light was on. Rain tapped the windshield. No music, just rain on glass. I didn't get out. I just watched the light buzz in the dark. I thought about the kiss, the hallway, her forehead against my shoulder. I thought about being called driver and understanding why. I thought about Noah, still trusting me, still believing in people. And I realized I never became the man she could claim. But some nights, that porch light still says my name without saying a word. I started the engine, put the car in drive, and I left the light buzzing behind me. Because some doors don't open. They just stay cracked. Some doors don't open. They just stay cracked.